Hiya BookTube. Middle March meditation fans. I promise, I am about to record an episode very shortly. But before I do that, I just need to insert a really quick video because I've been tagged. Will Chambers from the channel Will Chambers 8065. He selected me to do the hot or not tag. And Will, you know, it's really, really kind of you because I was prevaricating. I saw this tag, was very, very drawn to it. But then I kept reading the rules. What do they say? Try to be fast and on topic. There can always be exceptions and it depends explanations, but go for the gut reaction to the prompt in general terms. Well, Will, you may know I'm a scripted kind of girl, and so gut feelings, they don't come easy, but I'm going to have a go. All right, everybody? Going to try. So let's get right to it. A, audiobooks. Not because my attention constantly wanders. Constantly. It's really frustrating. My mind seems to be tied to my eyes somehow. I don't know how that works. Tied to whatever my eyes are doing. Whereas what I listen to, not always, but more often than not, I treat it like background ambience. Right. Bildungsroman, dealing with a person's formative years or spiritual education. Hot and not? Do you mean biography, or is there a genre that I don't know? I'm suspecting the latter, okay? But because I'm always catching up, as you know. I like biographies, not so much autobiographies and memoir, okay? Sometimes the writing is a bit iffy. So I guess that's both hot and not. C, children's books is a not. I'm so sorry, everybody, but I'm afraid that, you know, when I was a child, I moved from children's books to adult books at a kind of young age. I was a precocious little thing with a lot of books around the house, and I didn't have any children. That was a choice, by the way. So it's a big disadvantage, though, because it means that you just know nothing about children's authors from about, I don't know, I'd say the late 1970s forward. Absolutely not. Now, I did, strangely enough, take a university course in children's lit, which was informative and extremely interesting, but it didn't make me want to catch up on all those unread books. D, digital, hot, very hot. Would not be happy with just paper reading because digital gives me access to the greatest quantity of books in the greatest number of situations in my tiny space, and I really, really need all the books. I mean, seriously, all of them. E, experimental. Yeah, hot. I like different ways of writing, kind of like trying new foods. I'm the same way with that. F, fantasy. Oh, I want to be hot. I want to be. Yeah, the problem with being somebody who reads all over the map is that you don't keep up with what's latest. You don't know who's the great wonder writer in a particular genre. But more than that, see, I have a problem with books that come in series. And that seems to be, well, I'm sure it isn't unavoidable in fantasy, and that's why I keep watching BookTubers in the hope. But as best I can tell, that's what most fantasy is. And so it's really going to be hard to pull me in. G, graphic novel, not. I went down to London especially for this, spent time in Forbidden Planet's basement bookshop, especially to browse graphic novels. I thought I'm going to have one of these because people love them. And nothing made me excited. I think, and I missed the words. I missed words. It did. And of course, being an ignorant old person, I couldn't work out where my eye was supposed to go, right? I could have made somebody laugh down there. I know. Maybe I just need a read along. Anyway, H, horror. Oh, not. And that's because I'm such a coward. I'm just going to say it. I'm a coward. Some days I can't even do suspense, right? Mild suspense. That said, I really enjoyed Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. I enjoyed Stephen King's Carrie, but I haven't read any other King. And, you know, I think it's because those books were shorter. So maybe I can do short horror. I, inspirational. Gonna say mostly not. Now and again, you'll get the odd book and it'll work for me. And I still browse those sections in bookstores, you know, hoping. But it's rare for me to like a book that's consciously trying to make me positive. I tend to resist that. J, journalism. All right. Hot if the journalism is in book form or magazine journal articles where they're researched and they're published after the fact. Not when it comes to newspapers, which I deliberately don't read. Probably for the same reasons as the horror category, right? Big coward. Big coward. K, kitsch. I wasn't really sure what this might be. Has popular or sentimental appeal? I'm going to say mainly not, because I think I'm more of a quirky, niche, obscure person with my book preferences. But there's one exception I can think of. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. I love that book. I will watch almost any adaptation of that story, and I never get sick of it. L, library. Hot, 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 hot. I've bored you guys to death, haven't I? With all my library evangelism. Yeah, I love libraries. M, mystery. Hot. Love the game of trying to work out what's going on, and I'm always so pleased when the writer turns out to be smarter than me. N, nonfiction. Hot, 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 right? I have a personal rule to keep my reading balanced. I think a balanced reading diet has almost equal amounts fiction, nonfiction. That's just me. Omnibus for O, not. Yeah, we talked about me and series, right? It's the same thing with me and the same kind of writer. Even if I love a writer's work, I simply will not read everything that they've done because I need to sample things. Breadth matters more to me than depth. That's just how I turned out, I guess. P, poetry. Oh, mainly not, but this is just like fantasy. I really want to say hot. I really do. I think if all the fiction in the world disappeared, then I would become a poetry fanatic, right? That's because even though I enjoy poetry, I love to hear it, in practice, I always treat it as the thing that I'm going to get to just as soon as I finish fiction, right? Yeah, which is never going to happen. Q, quests, right? When the protagonist goes on a quest that is physical or spiritual. Yeah, I'm hot if you mean that I'm good with it when it turns up in a book, but I don't go looking for stories like that. I let that happen by chance. Same with R, romance, right? I'm hot if it turns up in a novel I really enjoy a love story very, very much. But I don't prioritize it. I don't collect. It's not a genre I follow. I just let it happen. Science fiction, S. I want to be hot again. It's just like fantasy. It's just like fantasy. I want to be hot. But again, if you don't keep up with the genre, if you're not really into it, you never know the latest best thing. And I think science fiction can age in a way that other kinds of books can't. And I don't know which are the ones that haven't aged well, if you know what I mean. But I'm hoping that BookTube's going to help with that. So that's why I'm watching creators like Book Songs and Other Magic, because believe me, Gareth, I note down your titles. I'm going to talk about that in another video, right? Because I'm looking for good science fiction. T, translation. Books translated from one language into another. Well, my reviews say it all, hot, because translated fiction, even when you count the fact that something's always lost in translation, you still are getting an insight into a different human experience, and I just love that. I love that. U, Ubermensch, the Superman or the extraordinary human. More not than hot. Like, I like James Bond once in a while, right? I'm hot if a super character turns up occasionally, right? If they come too often, I get bored. I do. Like, I also enjoy Lee Child's Jack Reacher novels, but when I say enjoy, I mean like one every 2 years. More often than that, I'm like, okay, you're boring me now. Yeah. Like that. Victorian literature from 1837 to 1901. Hot. Absolutely. No question. W, Western. I won't say that I'm never in my life going to read a Western. Read a Western? Oh, shall I start again? I won't say that I'm never going to read a Western, because it'll happen. There are some titles people have mentioned that I'm looking at thinking, better read that. But I've got to say not for this, because it would be closer to the truth that I'm not a great Western lover, right? Reading an occasional book, reading 3 in my life, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. X-rated. Yep. I am hot if it turns up. Absolutely. But I have 2 conditions, right? 1, if the leading couple is heterosexual, then the woman must dominate. Okay? 50 Shades of Grey did not work for me. I browsed it in store and I slammed the cover shut as soon as Anastasia Steele tripped and fell into Christian Grey's office, because I knew immediately who was going to be in charge in that story, and I thought, nope. And 2, I will laugh out loud if the writing is not just right. Sex scenes, to me, they're the easiest thing to do badly, and then they're not erotic at all. They're just hilarious. So that's my X. Y, young adult, hot. And I know that's going to sound strange because, I don't read a lot of YA, but everything I've read, which has usually been the result of somebody personally recommending a title, everything I've read, I've loved. I remember flying across the Atlantic to visit my sister some years back, and that was when Twilight was at the height of its popularity, and my niece let me borrow all her 4 of the Twilight series, and I read them in less than 2 weeks. I had to, it's true, because I couldn't take them home with me. She wouldn't let me. But I remember having a really, really fun time. Yeah. Z, zeitgeist, spirit or mood of the times. Yeah, hot, hot. Yeah, I like this kind of fiction better than journalism, to be truthful, for telling me how things are or how they were. Oh, I think I did that. Will, thank you. I broke a barrier there, and that's all down to you. Okay, everybody, that's it for A to Z. Now I'm going to go and record a Middlemarch meditation as promised. Right, look out for that soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.